Everything exists in the simultaneity of the here and now. Simultaneity is the second law of existence that we will be looking at today. If you haven't watched the first one, go back before watching this video because things will become clearer to you. Welcome everyone to another episode of You Are One. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to join us all, to all seekers and those ready to explore the world of the unknown. Today, we are talking about the here and now, about whether there really is a past and a future. Are we living in one big illusion? And where is our place in all this? Welcome, Evo.
Hello. There is a very interesting moment in the presentation of the here and now. When we talk about the here and now, in all the esoteric books, in all the spiritual practices, they talk about the here and now. But no one explains why exactly we are talking about the here and now. Why don't we talk about the past, the future, the experiences, etc.? The moment is always here and now, and everything happens here and now, but no one tells you why. And now, here is very briefly the idea of explaining what here and now means. A paradox, Einstein's paradox of the twins, tells us that the faster we move, the slower time passes for us. To explain this phenomenon of time, Einstein tells a tale about two twins. Two twins who live on Earth, but one gets on a starship that flies at a speed close to the speed of light. And because he is moving very fast, time will pass more slowly for him than for this twin who is on Earth. And when the twin traveled for a year in the starship, during that time on Earth, how did time flow? Faster. Therefore, for the twin who is on Earth, more years have passed. And when the twin returns after a year of his journey, he will be about 9 years younger than his brother. This is very well reflected in the movie Interstellar. The difference in space-time is very well shown. But where does this difference come from? Let's explain it very briefly. So, the faster we move, the slower time passes for us. And now we allow the reverse version. If we move more slowly, how will time flow? What if we move even more slowly?
Even faster.
And if we are at complete rest?
Time will tend to infinity.
And as time tends to infinity at this point?
Time tends to infinity, but is time infinite?
Time is not infinite, and it tends to infinity as flow, as speed. And in this situation, a small paradox occurs. So, at this point where we have complete rest, time, as it approaches infinity, is running so fast that what happened 3 million years ago, when is it actually happening?
Here and now.
Happening now in this moment. And what will happen in 3 million years?
Again in this moment.
Well, then it means that when we are at complete rest, because of the infinitely fast passage of time, everything happens when?
In the present.
In the present, now. And where exactly is it happening? Well, here, only at this point, which is completely at rest. If the dot was moving,
It is no longer here and now.
it's not here anymore. It's going to be somewhere else. And it won't be now, but at a different time. Because the faster we move, the slower time passes for us. And what is that point? Well, that's all the potential. Why? Because in that point of complete rest, because in an instant this point will have all the information. Everything happens to her in this moment now.
And she has the full knowledge.
The full capacity of information.
Okay, but how do we get to that point?
That point is the idea of our manifestation. Because precisely at this point, the paradox appears. If I know everything, can I know a state of ignorance? If I know everything, can I experience a state of ignorance?
And is it possible for me to know everything?
Well, right. If time runs at infinite speed, and I'm completely still, what happens? Full knowledge is within me. However, If full knowledge is within me, can I experience any states of ignorance?
Well, no. And that's why I go to experience them, and I no longer have this complete knowledge.
But if I start to experience them, I'm already moving at a speed other than zero.
That is, I move at a speed other than that which tends to infinity.
Exactly. And then time passes?
Slower.
More slowly.
And it's already in the cycle.
And what then needs to be shaped?
It is necessary to form an environment and limitations in which to stop in order to be able to explore this field of information, because otherwise I would be confused.
Correct. This field of ignorance, in order to explore it, you set a certain speed for yourself to move around the point of complete rest.
But the point of complete rest never moves away from there. She is always in this limitation.
And then we can expand
Infinitely.
to expand, but at the same time to explore different probabilities of that expansion. And what are the probabilities of this extension? Infinite. Therefore, we have infinite variations of ignorance to explore given all the information about it.
That is, the I have nothing to do excuse is comical.
It is thoughtless. I always make sense. If I exist, it means that I have already chosen what to explore.
Is this the answer to everything exists for a reason, and I am here with a specific mission and reason?
Yes, my mission is to explore the limitation that I myself have chosen to be.
Or for that matter, I'm not here by accident, as I said.
Could it be a coincidence if I chose it?
Yes, these are one of the great paradoxes of the whole thing.
But here is also the meaning of our existence. In effect, in that we emerge from full potential and information and limit ourselves to no ignorance, we are both the full potential and the limitation we have created.
And aren't we the potential, the limitation, and the probabilities?
And now here, you very precisely, very correctly pointed out, because in practice we are the limitation that we have created. By itself, however, it is meaningless.
Yes.
It only makes sense if there are other constraints that we have created to interact with, because a constraint becomes meaningless if you can't interact with other constraints. Imagine a dark space, and you are sitting inside the dark space, and you have limited yourself. Well, and?
Nothing.
Nothing? The only point of our having limited ourselves in this potential is that there are other limitations with which to interact with each other, and then we can explore what that limitation or this ignorance would rule among other such ignorances.
And this all happens in ordered moments from here and now.
Are the ordered moments of the here and now, actually.
Isn't that the linear structure we call past, present, and future?
Yes. And actually, where is the interesting point? Every thought of ours, the moment it enters the so-called vacuum of nothingness, back in 2011, Per Delsing's team at the Chalmers Institute Royal Swedish Academy discovered that every high-frequency pulse in nothingness causes a pair of photons to appear. In this, one photon spins in one direction and the other photon spins in the other direction. And if these two photons do not have some common direction perpendicular to their manifestation, they disappear back into nothingness. These are the so-called dreams. However, when they have momentum E, you have a choice. The pair of photons start spinning.
And it becomes a whirlwind, it becomes a vortex.
A double spiral. What does that remind you of?
Of DNA.
DNA. And actually this double helix, which is the double helix of two polarities, if you think about it in more detail, one photon spins one way and the other spins the other way.
Yes.
So these are two
They are two opposites.
opposites or two polarities. But these two polarities, united by the general direction of our choices, give the DNA of our existence. In fact, this is how we come to the conclusion that by giving direction to two polarities that mutually self-destruct, in quotes, we create the world we choose to create.
That is, without two opposites, there is no world. There's no us.
Well, yes. If we are a drop of water in the sea, will we know that we are a drop of water? That's what we started with.
That is, the world can never be only good or only bad. It can never be only happy or only unhappy. It is always both. Only this, how we decide to react to the world around us, determines what it is.
That's right. And depending on the meaning we give to it, whether we use the pen as a weapon or a writing tool is entirely up to us. That is, again, from our choice.
That is here and now.
Which is always here and now, in terms of potential. That is, we live in an illusion. And now here is the thin moment. Hongtang, Yale University, proves that when there is a pair of photons with different spins, that is, with different spins, they move apart. It receives a lateral force of light that stretches the pair of photons between them and pushes them in two different directions. This out-of-nowhere collision causes space-time itself to stretch, and the pair of photons continues to rotate, stretching the nothingness at a certain speed and expanding more the range of our exploration and our space-time. That is, each one of us making choices stretches an individual space-time in which he self-manifests and self-exists himself and his environment with which to interact. And then he begins to format filters within himself to adapt to the environment
That he has created.
that he has created and is willing to explore.
And part of these filters we call memories. We call them expectations. We call them, in this case, future and past. And we stretch them like this.
And thus we are constantly stretching this space-time.
And our big problem is that sometimes we prefer more given filters and memories. And that is why some people are said to live in the past. And actually, we are always now.
And we have always existed here and now. And this stretched space-time is the fruit of our choices. First, the cause of everything that happens to us is our choices.
Can we then conclude that the greatest power we have is that we can choose at any moment?
While being aware. The idea is to realize that we are the creators of our own reality. We are the ones who stretch space-time. And further, if we know that the circumference of that circle is the work we're going to do, and the diameter of that circle is our capabilities. The more opportunities, the more work.
Accordingly, the more work.
The more opportunities. And here is the essential point. Where should our research direction be if we want more possibilities?
Outside.
But this is also the direction of the source itself. It by itself stretches space-time, creates an illusory picture, an idea of the existing, in which we interact with the reflections that we ourselves have created in our image and likeness. But otherwise, everything is here and now.
And our choice, combined with our awareness of the here and now, gives us one of our most memorable experiences.
Called life.